Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's had a good day. Getting closer to Christmas. The days are getting longer again, thankfully. Glad to have you back. We're still on hiatus from our Cursor Stride, so this is another solo chat GPT. It's a DM. Um, let's see. For music today, we're going to continue with Everroon. I have no copyright on it. And I've already got the summary ready from last time's episode. So here we go.
Here is the summary, repeated cleanly and paced so it reads well aloud. Episode 15 summary, The Road Does Not Forget. Episode 15 begins with Simon returning to the steady, unglamorous work of guarding a caravan along an old and well-travelled road. What begins as a routine journey quickly proves otherwise when Simon discovers a waystone bearing his own name. The stone is not a warning or a prophecy, but a marker of choice. A sign left by the road itself, remembering the moment Simon stopped running and chose to walk forward honestly. As the caravan continues, Simon becomes aware that he is being observed twice. First by a quiet traveller who understands the meaning of the guidestone, and later by another who tests whether Simon truly bears the road's mark. Neither encounter turns violent. Instead, both confirm that Simon has been noticed by forces that measure travellers not by strength, but by how they move through consequence. That confirmation soon turns practical. Later that day, Simon detects a coordinated ambush ahead of the caravan. Caravan hunters, disciplined and experienced, attempt to trap the wagons in a narrow stretch of road. Acting decisively, Simon breaks the ambush, biting off the rear flanker, preventing the caravan from being surrounded. In close combat, Simon holds the line alone, absorbs a hit, and ultimately kills the ambusher meant to finish fleeing civilians. With the trap broken, the remaining attackers scatter or are captured. The caravan survives intact. No wagon falls, no innocents die. The rest of the journey is quieter, but changed. The road feels different now. Not hostile, aware. Simon continues his duties without ceremony, guarding motion itself rather than glory. When the caravan finally reaches its stopping point for the night, it does so because someone stood where it mattered. Episode 15 ends with proof rather than mystery. The road remembers and Simon has earned its respect. If you want, I can also tighten this into a 1 minute previously on version or slow it down even more with deliberate pauses for dramatic reading.
Thanks. That's fine. It's time to start episode 16. The road does not walk alone. Road does not walk alone.
Got it. We open cleanly and without rush. Episode 16. The road does not walk alone. Night settles in the way it always does along old roads. Not suddenly, not gently. It arrives by accumulation, one shadow at a time. The caravan has made camp just off the road itself, close enough that the wagons still feel its presence, far enough that nothing blocks the path for whatever may pass while the fires burn low. The drivers are quiet, not afraid, respectful. People who have learned the difference. The road lies there in the dark, pale and worn, a scar across the land that has been cut so deeply it no longer bleeds. Wind moves along it instead of across it. The stones remember weight, hooves, wheels, footsteps taken in haste and footsteps taken in resolve. Simon is on watch. Nothing presses in on him. No whispers, no shapes at the edge of sight, no crawling dread. And yet the sense from earlier has not faded. It has changed texture, less like being watched, more like being accompanied. At some point during the night, Simon notices something small and precise. The waystone from earlier is not visible from camp. It should not be. And yet, when he looks down the road, he knows exactly where it is. Not by sight, by orientation, the way a sailor knows north without stars. and then something else becomes clear. He is no longer the most recent thing the road remembers. Somewhere ahead, beyond the firelight and beyond the bend where the road dips and vanishes into dark grass, there are other marks, fresh ones, not tracks. Decisions. Someone walked this road recently who mattered. The fire behind Simon pops softly. A wagon creaks as it settles. The caravan sleeps, the road waits. Simon is not alone out here, and whatever shares the road tonight is moving with purpose, not hunger. Hold there for a moment. When you're ready, tell me how Simon keeps watch, and we'll see what approaches first.
While keeping watch, Simon will again sharpen his scimitars, waiting to see if anyone or anything approaches.
Simon settles into the rhythm of the watch the same way he always does, by giving his hands something honest to do. He draws one scimitar first, resting the curved blade across his knee. The whetstone makes a low, steady sound as it moves along the edge. Not hurried, not obsessive, just enough pressure to remind the steel what it is for. Sparks do not fly. This is maintenance, not ceremony. The road seems to approve of the sound. The fire crackles behind him. Somewhere in the dark, a night bird calls once and then thinks better of it. The wagons remain still. No horses stamp or snort. Nothing pulls against its tether. As Simon sharpens the second blade, he becomes aware of a change ahead on the road. Not movement yet, a distortion of expectation. The sense that if something were to step into view, it would do so openly. Then it happens. Footsteps, unarmored, measured, one set, coming from ahead, not behind. Whoever it is does not hide their approach, but they also do not hurry. The sound carries cleanly along the stone, each step placed where the road wants it. A figure emerges at the edge of the firelight, just far enough away to be seen clearly and not a pace closer. Cloaked. Hood up, no weapon drawn, though something long is slung across their back. They stop where the road meets the grass and do not step off it. They incline their head to Simon. Not a bow, recognition. The stone knew you, the figure says, voice calm, unaccented, hard to place. That narrows the world more than you'd think. They wait after speaking. No threat, no demand, just space. Simon still has both blades in his hands. The caravan sleeps, the road listens. Before we go any further, give me a perception check for Simon.
All right, perception. Simon rolled an 11.
An 11 tells you what it doesn't tell you, which is sometimes more important. You study the figure carefully. Their stance is balanced, weight-centered, not favoring either foot. Not military parade rest, not casual loitering. Someone used to roads, not battlefields. Their cloak is travel-worn but well cared for. No mud caked on the hem. No blood. No smell of fear or adrenaline drifting on the night air. You do not see a face. The hood is cut to make that difficult without being theatrical about it. The thing that stands out is the timing. They arrived exactly when your blades were ready, not before, not after, as if they waited for the sound of steel being set right. The figure's gaze flicks briefly to your scimitars, then back to you. No flinch, no interest in testing them. Sharpening, they say, not accusing, not approving, observing. That's good. Roads dislike dull intentions. They step no closer. The grass beside the road does not bend under their boots. They stay on stone, as if stepping off would be impolite. I won't wake your caravan, the figure continues. I'm not here for them. A pause, deliberate. I walk this road for the same reason you're standing on it, they add, to see who it lets pass. The fire pops again behind you. The road feels attentive, not tense, like an audience that already knows the ending but wants to see how it's performed. Simon holds the line. Steel in hand. Choice in front of him. When you're ready, tell me what Simon does or says next, and we'll see whether this meeting becomes a conversation, a crossing, or a test.
What are you doing out here following me?
The figure does not bristle at the accusation. That by itself is an answer. They tilt their head slightly as if considering the phrasing rather than the intent. Following is a hungry word, they say. It assumes direction only runs one way. A pause. The firelight catches the edge of their cloak now, revealing stitching meant to be repaired often. This is not a ceremonial garment. It is built to endure being wrong about destinations. I was already on this road, they continue. You happened to arrive at a moment that made the road take notice. When that happens, others who listen tend to look up. They shift their weight just a fraction, still on the stone, still not advancing. I did not mark you, they say. You did that yourself. The waystone merely recorded it. The night feels wider now, not more dangerous, more honest, as if pretense has been gently but firmly asked to leave. You stood where the road needed someone to stand, the figure goes on. And you didn't do it to be seen. That matters. They glance past you briefly toward the sleeping caravan, then back. So I came to confirm something simple, they say, whether you were being carried or whether you were walking. Another pause, this one heavier. And whether you understand the difference. They wait again. No weapons drawn, no spell work in the air, just a person on a road addressing another person the road has decided is relevant. The night does not push you toward violence. It pushes you toward clarity.
Currently, I'm walking the road, not being carried by it.
The figure exhales, not in relief, in acknowledgement, like a box quietly checked. Good, they say. Then we can speak plainly. They reach up and push the hood back just enough that you can see part of a face. Weathered, human. Lines earn the slow way. Eyes that reflect firelight but do not chase it. Whatever they are not pretending to be more than a person tonight. Being carried feels easier, they continue. The road does the choosing. You do the surviving, but walking means you accept where your feet land, even when the stone remembers. They tap the road once with the toe of their boot. The sound is sharp, intentional. You're right, they add. I was watching you, not to trap you, to see if the road had made a mistake. A faint smile touches one corner of their mouth. It does not linger. It didn't. They shift the long shape on their back, not a weapon being readied, just adjusted. You catch the outline now. A staff wrapped in leather at the grip, worn smooth by years of contact, a traveller's tool, not a killer's. I won't walk with you, they say next, and the road seems to lean in. Not yet, but I won't pretend we didn't meet. They take one step backward, still on stone. When the road stops being patient, they say, voice lower now, you'll feel it before you see it. When that happens, don't look for signs, look for choices. Another pause, the final one. Finish your watch, they say. You're doing it correctly. And then they turn and walk on, footsteps steady, fading down the bend of the road until sound gives way to silence again. The fire behind you crackles. A wagon creaks. Somewhere, a horse snorts and settles. The road relaxes, not asleep, satisfied. Simon is alone again, but not unnoticed.
Sorry about that. They shift along, safe back now, being ready. Just adjusted. You catch the outline now, staff. Don't finish your watch. You're doing it correctly. They turn to walk on. Footsteps steady, fitting. Still standing at the stage side. Slightly crackles, bleeding. Just as the road relaxed, without a sleep satisfied. Simon is alone again, but not unnoticed. First, the watch remains quiet unless you choose otherwise. When you're ready, tell me whether someone keeps the blades moving. Just positional size path. Simon will let the night pass without interruption. Let me know. Whoops. When I can take a long rest.
Simon lets the whetstone rest. The blades are clean, sharp enough, honest enough. He sets them where he can reach them without looking and allows the watch to become what it is meant to be. The night does not test him again. No more footsteps touch the road. No shapes gather at the edge of the firelight. Whatever business the road had tonight has concluded itself quietly, the way old things prefer. Wind passes. The embers dim. The caravan breathes as one slow, uneven animal. At some point, without ceremony, the sense of being accompanied fades into something gentler. Not absence, memory, like a footprint that does not fill in right away. When the eastern sky finally begins to pale, it does so without drama. No omen, no sign, just light returning to a place that expects it. One of the drivers stirs, another yawns. A fire is coaxed back to life. Morning resumes. You may take a long rest now. Simon wakes with his gear intact, his blades keen, his dreams untroubled. Whatever watched him in the night did not intrude. Whatever marked him before has not been taken back. The road lies ahead, unchanged in shape, altered in meaning. When you're ready, we'll see what the day brings and whether the road chooses to introduce Simon to someone else who knows how to walk it.
All right, so long rest. Okay. What do I want to do? Simon will check in with Mara to see how she's holding up during breakfast.
Breakfast comes together the way caravan breakfasts always do. Quick hands, shared tools, small kindnesses passed without comment. Hard bread softened in broth, something fried that smells better than it probably tastes. Coffee that could wake the dead, or at least annoy them. Mara's already up. She sits on the edge of one of the wagons, mug in both hands, staring out toward the road while steam curls up past her face. Her shoulders are a little less tight than they were yesterday, not relaxed, reclaimed. When Simon approaches, she looks up and gives him a tired but genuine smile. Morning, she says. Figured you'd still be on your feet when the sun came up. Roads like you that way. She takes a sip, then gestures with the mug for him to sit or stand. Dealer's choice. I slept, she admits. That hasn't been easy lately. A pause. Then quieter. Nobody screamed last night. Nobody ran. That's new. She glances past Simon toward the wagons, toward the people starting to move and talk and exist again. I heard about what you did yesterday, she continues. The drivers talk. They always do. They said you didn't chase the attackers, didn't try to be a hero. She looks back at him. You just stood where it mattered. There's no flattery in it, just assessment. So, she says, blowing on her drink, how are you holding up? You carry quiet like someone who's learned what it costs. She waits, not prying, just present. The kind of person who asks because they actually want the answer. So the morning is still young, the road is still ahead.
I've been marked by the road, apparently. I keep meeting people who are testing me to see if the road made the right choice.
Mara blinks once, just once. Then she lets out a short breath through her nose, halfway between a laugh and a sigh. Well, she says, that explains a few things. She shifts her mug to one hand and pats the wagon beside her, finally sitting down fully. The ground creaks under the wheel like it's eavesdropping. People don't test what doesn't matter, she says after a moment. And roads don't mark folks who drift. They mark the ones who decide. She looks at you sideways now. Not skeptical, calibrating. My grandmother used to say roads are older than kings and more patient than gods, Mara goes on. They don't care if you're strong. They care if you're honest about where you're going and honest about what you're willing to step on to get there. She takes another sip, then lowers the mug. So if you're being tested, she says, it's not to see if you'll win a fight. It's to see if you'll keep walking when the road stops being kind. A beat, and from what I've seen, a small, crooked smile. The road didn't screw up. She looks back toward the morning bustle, drivers laughing quietly, someone swearing at a stubborn kettle. Life continuing because it can. As for me, she adds, answering your question at last, I'm holding up because you were there yesterday, because someone stood between motion and panic and didn't blink. She meets your eyes again. So if the road marked you, Simon, she says calmly, then I'm glad it did. Means if things go bad again, we won't be alone when they matter. Breakfast finishes around you. The caravan starts to think about wheels and distance and hours yet to be walked. The road waits, as always.
Simon will ready his things and head out with the caravan as it leaves.
Simon finishes breakfast without ceremony. He stows his gear the same way he always does, not checking it twice, not fussing. The scimitars settle at his sides like they belong there, because they do. The caravan begins to move in pieces, a shouted word here, a creak of harness leather there. Wheels turn, hesitant at first, then confident. The road accepts the weight without complaint. Mara gives him a nod as her wagon lurches forward. Not a farewell, an assumption. You're still here. Good. As Simon takes his place alongside the lead wagons, the road does something subtle. It opens, not physically, nothing so dramatic, but the sense of constriction that roads sometimes have, that feeling of being funneled or watched or judged, loosens. The horizon feels reachable. The bends ahead feel honest. Whatever walked the road last night has passed on, and whatever tested him has rendered its verdict. For now, a few miles pass quietly, grass sways, birds return to arguing about territory. The rhythm of travel sets in. But Simon notices something that wasn't there yesterday. The caravan is no longer reacting to the road. It's following him on it, not consciously, not superstitiously. But when a wagon drifts too close to a rut, it's Simon's position that corrects it. When a driver slows, they look to where he is before they decide whether to stop. The road has given them a reference point, and they are using it. Ahead, the road narrows slightly as it climbs toward a low ridge. Stone gives way to packed earth, a place where sound carries farther than it should. Nothing is wrong yet, but this is the kind of place where something could decide to be. You're moving with the caravan as the day begins to warm and stretch. Tell me how Simon positions himself as the road tightens ahead, and we'll see whether episode 16 stays quiet or proves the road was right to keep testing you.
Simon will move to the front of the caravan to see easier if anything is coming up.
Simon moves up without drawing attention to it. No orders, no gestures. He just walks faster, passes the lead wagon, and takes point like it was always his place. The road tightens as expected. The packed earth climbs toward the ridge, flanked by scrub and broken stone. Visibility improves in one way and worsens in another. You can see farther ahead, but sound carries strangely here. A footstep 100 yards off would arrive as a whisper. A mistake nearby would arrive as thunder. Nothing greets you immediately. Then you notice the absence. No birds ahead, not startled, just not present. The breeze still moves the grass, but it carries no small life with it. The road feels attentive again, not alarmed, but alert in the way a blade is alert when it's been lifted but not yet swung. About 40 yards ahead, just before the crest of the ridge, the road curves slightly left around a cluster of standing stones. Old ones. Not markers, not waystones, too close together, too irregular. The sort of stones people don't move because they were already there when memory began. That's when you see it. A wagon track crossing the road at a shallow angle, fresh, heavy load, not part of the caravan. It cuts across, disappears into the scrub on the right, and does not come back out on the other side. Someone left the road, and they did it recently. The caravan continues behind you, unaware but trusting. Wheels turning, drivers talking quietly. Simon is at the front. The road narrows, the stones wait. Give me another perception check and tell me whether Simon slows the caravan, signals a halt, or advances alone to the curve.
Perception check. 21. And we'll have the caravan stop for the time being.
A 21 tells you the truth early enough to matter. Simon raises a hand, not sharp, not panicked, just enough. The lead driver sees it immediately and calls the stop back without argument. Wheels slow, harness leather sighs. The caravan settles into stillness like it's practiced for this exact moment. Now that everything has stopped, the road speaks more clearly. The crossed wagon track is not just fresh, it is careful. The wheels were eased off the road, not hurried. No skidding, no broken brush. Whoever left the road here did not flee. They chose to leave it, and they did so knowing exactly how long it would take the caravan to arrive. With your vantage and focus, more details emerge. There are footprints alongside the track. At least 3 people, maybe 4. Boots, not soft shoes. One of them walked backward for several steps before turning, watching the road as they retreated into the scrub. That tells you 2 things. They expected pursuit, and they respected whoever might give it. The standing stones ahead are doing something subtle to sound. You can tell now that the quiet isn't natural. Noise doesn't echo wrong here. It dies. Voices would not carry past the stones cleanly. Orders shouted from the ridge would arrive garbled or late. This is not an ambush site built by amateurs. Mara's voice comes from behind you, low. You see it too. No fear in it. Trust. The road does not feel hostile, but it feels interested, like this is the kind of choice it remembers. Someone left the road ahead of you on purpose. Someone wanted to see who would notice. And now the caravan is stopped because Simon did. You have control of the moment. Tell me whether Simon advances to the stones alone, takes Mara or another driver with him, or circles wide to read the scrub before committing.
I will get Mara and another guard to follow me as I quickly circle the scrub before leaving the road to follow the tracks. I'm doing this stealthily.
Simon doesn't hesitate. He assigns gravity to the moment. He gestures Mara over with 2 fingers, low and precise, then hooks another guard with a glance. No shouting, no explanation longer than it needs to be. You, he says quietly to the second guard. Eyes open, mouth shut, step where I step. Both of them nod. No bravado, no questions. The caravan stays put. That matters. Simon moves first, angling off the road before the obvious break in the scrub, taking a wider arc than the tracks suggest. That's the right instinct. Anyone waiting expects pursuit to follow the wheel marks. They won't expect patience. The scrub is sparse but tricky. Low brush, scattered stones, enough cover to break silhouettes, but not enough to hide sloppy movement. Simon picks the line instinctively, shade to shade, ground that won't crunch. He times his steps with the breeze. Mara moves well. Not trained soldier well, but road smart. She watches Simon's back instead of the terrain, trusting his choices. The other guard is slower, heavier, but he listens. That's good enough. Before we resolve how cleanly you ghost around the scrub, I need one thing. Give me a stealth check for Simon. This roll will also quietly determine how much time you buy before anyone ahead realizes the road has answered back.
All right, stealth roll. 12. Rolled a 12 for stealth. Probably not very good.
A 12 is enough to keep you unseen. It is not enough to keep you unnoticed. Simon leads them through the scrub with care, but the land here has memory in the wrong places. A patch of dry brush whispers when Mara shifts her weight. The other guard scuffs a stone he couldn't see until it moved. Nothing loud, nothing obvious, but sound behaves strangely near the standing stones, and what little noise you make doesn't travel outward. It funnels. You feel it before you see it. That tightening behind the eyes, the sense of attention being redirected. Still, you get what you came for. Circling wide gives you a clear read on the track's destination. About 30 yards off the road, the wagon trail ends at a shallow depression where the scrub thins and the ground hardens. No wagon now, it moved on already. Fast, but not panicked. What remains is a temporary position, recently disturbed earth where something heavy was set down and lifted again. Bootprints overlap here, purposeful and efficient. One figure knelt, another stood watch, a third paced. You count 4 sets of tracks now with confidence. And something else, a symbol pressed into the dirt with the butt of a staff or pole. Not magical, not glowing, just deliberate. A simple road mark, older than writing. The kind travellers used to say, we were here and we meant to be. Mara spots it a second after you do. Her jaw tightens. They wanted us to stop, she whispers. Yes. They did. You also realize something important. The scrub behind you is quiet now. Too quiet. Whatever attention you drew has already moved on. If someone was watching this spot, they have repositioned, not to attack, to observe what choice you make next. You have not been ambushed. You have been answered. Simon stands at the edge of the road's shadow, with the caravan safely halted behind him and fresh intent ahead of him. You can return to the road and report, follow the tracks deeper into scrub where sightlines vanish, or call out and force the watchers to decide whether this remains polite. The road does not push you. It waits to see what kind of walking this is.
Simon will follow the tracks deeper in.
Simon doesn't look back at the road. That matters. He signals Mara and the guard to stay close, then follows the tracks as they peel away from certainty and into intention. The scrub thickens quickly. Sightlines collapse. The ground changes from packed earth to loam and stone, the kind that remembers pressure but hides direction if you don't know what to look for. You know what to look for. The tracks are no longer trying to be obvious. They stop pretending to be. Boot prints space out, weight shifts to the balls of the feet. Whoever you're following expects pursuit now, and they expect it from someone competent. After about 50 yards, the terrain dips into a shallow cut between two low rises. Not a ravine, not cover, a conversation space. Sound will stay here. Movement will not carry far beyond it. That's when they step out, not suddenly, not with weapons raised. 4 figures emerge from the scrub ahead and to the sides, spacing themselves so none are directly behind you. Professional courtesy, all cloaked, all road-worn. One carries the long staff you saw marked in the dirt. Another rests a hand near a blade but does not draw it. The others keep their hands visible. The one with the staff speaks first. You followed, they say. Not impressed, not disappointed, just confirming data. They glance past you briefly toward where the road would be if it were visible. You didn't bring the caravan? They add. Good. Mara stiffens beside you but doesn't step back. The guard swallows and holds. The speaker plants the staff lightly on the ground. Same symbol as before, carved into the wood now, worn smooth by years of use. We wanted to know whether the road had marked someone who listens, they continue, or someone who assumes it grants authority. Their gaze settles on Simon. Fully now, measuring without cruelty. You chose pursuit without panic. Backup without spectacle. And you came far enough to mean it. A beat. That earns you an answer. They tilt the staff, pointing not at you but past you in the direction the road continues beyond the ridge. There's movement coming, they say quietly. Not today. Soon. Something that uses roads the way fire uses air. It doesn't walk them. It consumes what they connect. Silence settles heavy in the cut. We don't stop things like that, the speaker says. We warn those who can choose where to stand. They lower the staff. So now we ask you directly, Simon of the road mark, they say. Do you intend to keep walking alone, or are you willing to let the road introduce you to others who refuse to be carried? No blades are drawn. No threat hangs in the air. This is not a test of strength. It's a test of alignment. Tell me how Simon answers.
I'm willing to walk alone if I must, but I'm willing to listen to the road.
The answer lands exactly where it should. The one with the staff studies Simon for a long breath. not weighing the words, listening to how the road reacts to them. It does. The quiet in the cut shifts, not wind, not sound, permission. That, the speaker says at last, is the correct shape of the answer. They turn the staff once in their hands and plant it again, firmer this time. The others relax by degrees. No one steps closer, but no one holds the edge of flight anymore either. Walking alone isn't the same as refusing company, the speaker continues. It just means you won't mistake a crowd for direction. They glance to Mara, then to the guard, then back to Simon. You listen first, you choose second, and you accept the weight of both. That's what the road marked. One of the others, a woman with a scar along her jaw, speaks up now. Her voice is rougher, more practical. What's coming isn't a monster, she says. Not cleanly. It's a pattern. It moves along trade routes, pilgrim paths, old military roads, wherever people rely on motion staying predictable. The first speaker nods. When it arrives somewhere, they say, things don't explode. They fail. Caravans vanish. Messages don't arrive. Help comes too late because the road lied about distance. They look at Simon again directly. We won't ask you to swear anything, they say. We don't do oaths. We do intersections. They reach into their cloak and withdraw something small. Not a token, not a badge, a strip of leather, road-worn, with a simple knot tied into it. The same knot travelers use to mark shared direction for a time. This isn't membership, they say, holding it out. It's a listening mark. Wear it when you want the road to introduce you. Don't if you don't. They do not step forward. Simon would have to close the distance himself. Either way, the speaker finishes, the road will keep watching you. It already knows what you are. The scrub is quiet. The caravan waits back on the stone. Somewhere ahead, far beyond sight, something is moving that believes roads belong to it. Simon stands at a crossroads that doesn't exist on any map. Tell me whether Simon takes the leather mark, asks a question first, or declines and returns to the caravan with the warning alone. Whatever he chooses, episode 16 has already decided one thing. The road does not walk alone anymore.
Simon will take the leather strip and put it in his pouch. Then he will say, thank you for the warning, and head back to the road, to the caravan, with Mara and guard.
Simon closes the distance himself. He takes the leather strip without ceremony, feeling its weight, its wear, the history knotted into it. It's warm, not magically. Human warm, traveled warm. He doesn't tie it on, he doesn't display it. He slips it into his pouch, where listening things belong until they're needed. Thank you for the warning, he says. That is all. The speaker inclines their head, deeper than before. Respect, not relief. You heard us, they say. That's enough. The others step back in unison, not retreating, receding, like fog pulling away from a hill that no longer concerns it. The woman with the scar gives Simon one last look, sharp and approving. Next time, she says, we won't need to test you. Then they're gone. Not vanished, just elsewhere. The scrub closes ranks around their absence as if it always knew how. Simon turns back toward the road. The return is quicker, not because he rushes, but because the land no longer resists him. Mara walks beside him in silence until the stone of the road comes back into view. Then she exhales, long and slow. Figures, she mutters. I travel with one quiet swordsman and end up in the middle of whatever that was. There's no accusation in it, only acceptance. The guard looks relieved when the caravan comes back into sight. The drivers tense when they see Simon return, then relax when they see Mara with him and no blood on the ground. Simon gives the signal. 2 fingers down, move on. The caravan rolls forward again, wheels biting into the road like nothing strange has happened. But it has. The road knows it, Simon knows it. And somewhere ahead, something is moving that assumes roads exist to serve it. Episode 16 does not end with a fight, it ends with alignment. The caravan continues its journey under open sky, carrying more than goods now. When you're ready, we can close episode 16 properly. Or roll straight into the next day and see whether the road decides to test that warning sooner than expected.
Let's keep playing. Remember, I want at least some combat, but it doesn't have to happen.
Got it, we keep moving and the road keeps its options open. The caravan settles back into motion, but it doesn't return to routine. The drivers are quieter now, not nervous, focused. People who've learned the road can change its mind without raising its voice. Midday creeps in. The sun climbs just enough to burn the mist off the low ground. Heat presses down, not harsh, just present. The kind of weather that makes armor honest and patience expensive. Simon feels it first. Not danger, compression. The road ahead straightens for a long stretch, flanked by low stone embankments. Not walls, but old work. Someone once reinforced this section to keep wagons from slipping off into shallow gullies. The effect now is subtle, but real. Fewer escape paths, cleaner lines of sight, a place where movement becomes commitment. And then the road lies. Up ahead, about 60 yards out, you spot figures crossing the road, 5 of them. They look like travelers at first glance. Cloaks, packs, one leading a mule with empty panniers. They're not blocking the road, just moving across it, angling away toward the far embankment, like they mean to disappear into the scrub. But your eye catches the mismatch. Their spacing is wrong for travelers, too even, too aware. The mule is calm in a way animals usually aren't when led by strangers. And one of them glances toward the caravan just a second too late, like they were waiting for a signal that hasn't come yet. Mara notices too. You see it in the way her hand tightens on the wagon rail. They're pretending not to notice us, she says quietly, which means they absolutely have. The caravan is still moving, not fast, not slow. This could be nothing. This could be an avoidance maneuver. This could be the first move in something that wants to see whether Simon reacts before the road forces him to. No blades are drawn. No spells hum. Not yet. Tell me what Simon does first. Slow the caravan and observe. Advance alone to close distance. Signal the caravan to halt again. Prepare for contact without changing pace. Whatever you choose, we're close enough now that if things turn violent, they'll do so decisively.
Prepare for combat and pass the word among the caravan guards. Keep the caravan rolling at its same speed.
Simon doesn't break stride. That alone is the signal. He moves alongside the lead wagons, posture relaxed enough to look ordinary, deliberate enough that every guard who knows the road reads it correctly. A hand brushes his scimitars, not drawing, checking. He catches eyes, one nod here, 2 fingers there, no words wasted. The message passes quietly through the caravan like a held breath. Be ready. Do not panic. Do not stop. Guards adjust spacing. One drifts closer to the rear wagons. Another steps out just a pace wider than before. Spear angled down but loose. Crossbows are unhooked without being raised. Anyone watching closely would see it. Anyone pretending not to notice would already know. The 5 figures ahead slow their crossing. That's the tell. If they were travelers avoiding you, they'd hurry. If they were uninterested, they'd commit to the scrub. Instead, they hesitate just long enough to confirm that the caravan is not stopping. One of them raises a hand slightly. Too casual, too controlled. The mule stops. That seals it. The figure nearest the road turns fully now, cloak falling open just enough to show hardened leather beneath. No insignia, no bright steel. The kind of kit worn by people who expect confusion to do half the work for them. Easy, they call, voice carrying cleanly in the open air. No trouble intended, just crossing. But they don't move. And with your eye for motion now sharpened, you catch it. 2 more shapes on the embankments, low, prone, hidden until you were close enough that retreat would cost time. This isn't a massacre setup, it's a pressure play. Someone wants to see whether the caravan yields the road. Mara's voice is low at your shoulder. Your call. The caravan keeps rolling. 30 yards now, 25. Weapons are still down for about 1 more heartbeat. We're at the moment where talk or steel decides the tone. Tell me whether Simon issues a command, calls them out directly, or waits for the first hostile move. And when combat breaks, you'll roll initiative for Simon.
Simon says, if you're only crossing, be on your way. If you have other plans, I would suggest you change them.
Simon's voice carries without effort, calm, level, loud enough that no one can pretend they didn't hear it. The effect is immediate. The figure in front smiles, slow and thin, like someone who just learned the game isn't going to be easy. Well, they say, spreading their hands a little wider now. That's a shame. Was hoping you'd stop us. Behind them, one of the figures shifts their weight. Too late, too sharp. Leather creaks. A crossbow on the embankment tilts a fraction downward before correcting. That's the second tell, the bad one. The lead figure drops their hands. Take the wagons, they snap, the politeness gone. Leave the swordsman breathing if you can. Steel clears leather. 2 of the 5 rush forward to engage the road directly. 1 peels wide toward the caravan flank. On the embankments, the hidden shapes rise, crossbows coming up fast. This was always meant to be quick and decisive. The caravan guards shout and respond exactly as they should. Wagons keep moving, drivers duck, shields come up. The road narrows the chaos into something survivable. Simon is at the point of it. This is no longer a warning. This is no longer a test. Roll initiative for Simon. Once I have that, I'll lay out the battlefield, enemy positions, and who moves first.
Okay, so my initiative is 9.
Nine. That puts Simon in the fight, not ahead of it. Here's how the moment breaks. The ambushers move first, but not cleanly. The 2 on the road surge forward, blades out, trying to close distance before the caravan guards can fully lock in. One goes straight for you, fast and confident. The other angles toward the lead wagon, clearly intending to force a stop or pull a driver down. On the embankments, 1 crossbowman fires early. Too early. The bolt thunks into the side of a wagon instead of flesh, sending up splinters and a shouted curse. The second crossbowman holds for a better shot, tracking movement instead of panicking. The flanker makes their move next, sprinting low toward the caravan's right side, trying to get past the guards and into softer targets. The caravan guards respond well. Shields up, spears out. One guard takes a glancing hit but stays upright. The wagons keep rolling, slower now, but moving. Then it's Simon's turn. You are engaged by one melee attacker directly in front of you. Leather armor, short sword, aggressive stance. He's within striking distance. About 15 feet beyond him, the second melee attacker is almost at the lead wagon. Crossbow threats remain elevated on both embankments, roughly 30 feet out and 10 feet up. The flanker is moving fast on the right, about 20 feet from the nearest wagon. Simon is exactly where the road wanted him. The hinge point. Your options are wide open. You can engage and drop your attacker, push past him to protect the wagon, use positioning to threaten multiple enemies, or do something clever and disruptive that breaks their coordination. Tell me exactly what Simon does on his turn, and if you're making attacks, give me your attack rolls when ready.
Firebolt, thaumaturgy, toll with the dead, detect magic, false life, find familiar, wrathful smite. Once per long rest, use casting one bonus action, which you take immediately after hitting a creature with a melee weapon or an unarmed strike. Duration 1 minute, attack save. The target takes an extra 1d6 declared damage from the attack and makes you say the wisdom saving throw has the frightening condition. Alright. Simon will attempt to position himself between the attacker that's on me and the flanker heading towards the caravan. I want to make 2 scimitar attacks on the closest of the 2, hollering out to get their attention.
Simon moves through the moment instead of into it. He steps laterally, shoulder brushing past the first attacker just enough to deny him clean footing, putting himself squarely between that blade and the flanker sprinting for the wagons. It's a textbook road fighter move. Claim space, force decisions, make yourself the problem. Steel flashes as both scimitars come up. He shouts while he does it. Not a battle cry, a command meant to pull eyes and intent onto him. It works. Both the attacker on you and the flanker snap their attention your way. Coordination Fraser half step. Before I resolve anything, I need your rolls. Give me attack roll number 1 with the scimitar, attack roll number 2 with the scimitar. Once I have those, I'll roll damage, reactions, and tell you exactly how badly this disrupts their plan.
$25 and 25. Simon rolled 2 25s. Let me roll the damage Simon, you don't need to.
Both strikes land clean. Not lucky. Correct. Simon steps into the space like he owns it, blades moving in a tight, economical arc. The attacker in front of him never gets a chance to adjust. Your positioning does exactly what you wanted. The flanker hesitates, pulled off his line, suddenly unsure whether the caravan or you is the bigger problem. The first scimitar opens leather and flesh with a sharp, wet sound. The second follows immediately, faster than the attacker expects, forcing him back on his heels and completely breaking his momentum. He's hurt. Badly. Still upright for the moment, but only because shock hasn't finished its job yet. More importantly, everyone saw it. The flanker aborts his rush and starts to angle back, cursing. One of the crossbowmen on the embankment shifts his aim toward you instead of the wagons. The ambush just pivoted around Simon, whether they wanted it to or not. You've achieved 3 things in one move. You've locked down 2 enemies' attention, you've bought the caravan breathing room, you've turned yourself into the axis of the fight. Now roll damage for both scimitar hits. Once I have those numbers, I'll tell you whether that first attacker stays in the fight or becomes a lesson the road remembers.
9 and 9. Simon rolls 2 9s damage, and he wants to use a bonus action to cast Wrathful Smite. Ask me if you don't know what that does.
Two solid 9s, 18 damage total. That's not a flashy kill, that's worse. Simon's blades carve deep, one low across the ribs, the second higher, biting into muscle and forcing the attacker back with a strangled breath. Blood darkens the leather fast. The man staggers but does not fall. He's still standing because panic hasn't finished climbing his spine yet. And that's when Simon decides what comes next. He draws in a breath and lets the magic coil behind his eyes and teeth. Not shouted, not announced, just focused. The air around his blades tightens, pressure building like a held thought that's about to turn ugly. Wrathful Smite is primed. The magic doesn't explode outward. It waits, hungry. The next strike will carry more than steel. It'll carry fear sharpened into a weapon. The wounded attacker sees something change in Simon's posture and flinches despite himself. The flanker fully aborts his run now, skidding to a stop and backing off 2 steps, reassessing. One of the embankment crossbowmen snaps off a shot at you out of instinct. The bolt whistles past your shoulder and clatters uselessly on the road. The caravan guards surge forward to exploit the opening you created. One spear drives the second road attacker off the wagon line. The wagons keep moving. The ambush is officially not going to plan. Current battlefield status: quick and clean. Your engaged attacker, badly wounded, still up, now visibly shaken. Flanker, attention fully on you, no longer threatening the caravan. Crossbowman, 1 missed shot fired, 1 still holding aim. Caravan, moving, guarded, not breaking. The road feels tight again. Focus, this is one of the moments it keeps. Next up in the order will be enemy reactions. Then it comes back around to Simon fast. When your next turn comes, your first successful hit will trigger Wrathful Smite, forcing a wisdom save and potentially breaking this fight wide open. Stay sharp, you're doing exactly what the road expected.
Is it Simon's turn now or later? Let me use Restless Smite.
Good check. Short, clear answer. It is not Simon's turn right now. Here's where we are in the round, cleanly. Ambush has acted first. Simon took his turn. Movement, 2 attacks, bonus action, Wrathful Smite. We are now in enemy reactions and remaining enemy turns. That crossbow bolt that whistled past you was part of that. After the remaining enemies finish their actions this round, initiative will cycle back to Simon, and then it will be your turn again. That's when Wrathful Smite is already active. Your first successful melee hit will trigger it. You'll be deciding whether to finish the wounded attacker, pivot to the flanker, or force a morale collapse. I'll call it clearly when Simon's turn comes up again, so you can act without guessing.
Simon prepares for his next attack against the enemy I already hit.
Simon plants his feet and doesn't chase. That's the tell that scares professionals. He angles his body just enough to keep the flanker in his peripheral vision, but both scimitars stay trained on the wounded man in front of him. The magic of Wrathful Smite coils tighter, pressure building behind the blade, like a storm being held by discipline alone. The enemy you struck realizes what you're doing. That flicker of hope he had, the idea that he might disengage or be ignored, dies. He tightens his grip, breathing ragged now, blood slick on his side. He knows he's the focus. He knows what comes next is meant for him. Around you, the rest of the fight continues to shake itself out. The flanker hesitates, clearly debating whether to commit or cut losses. One crossbowman is reloading, cursing under his breath. The second crossbowman shifts position, trying to find a clean angle on you, but wary of hitting his own people. Caravan guards are pressing the second road attacker hard, forcing him back step by step. The road narrows the world to a few decisive yards of stone. No one interrupts you, no one pulls you away. The wounded attacker squares up, despite the fear creeping into his eyes, raises his blade and commits. He's trying to strike before whatever you're holding breaks loose. It is now Simon's turn. Wrathful Smite is primed. Your target is in front of you. The road is watching closely. Tell me what Simon does and give me your attack roll when you're ready.
First attack roll is an 11. The second attack roll is a 16. Roll is an 11, and the second roll is a 16.
Good, let's resolve it cleanly. Against this opponent's armor, the 11 misses. He twists just enough, steel scraping leather instead of biting. Desperation buys him a half second. The 16 hits solidly. That second scimitar finds him before he can recover, and this is the strike that triggers Wrathful Smite. Here's what happens mechanically and fictionally. Your blade connects. The stored magic discharges through the hit. He takes your normal weapon damage plus the psychic surge from the smite. He must make a wisdom saving throw against Simon's spell save DC 15. On a failure, he is frightened of Simon, and that fear is not subtle. It roots itself in his body and decision-making. Before I narrate the impact and roll his save, I need your damage. Please roll. Scimitar damage for the hit. Wrathful Smite psychic damage, 1d6. Once you give me those numbers, I'll apply the damage, roll his wisdom save, tell you whether he breaks, freezes, flees, or collapses under the road's judgment. You're seconds away from turning this skirmish.
Scimitar does 8 points of damage, and if he fails, the Wrathful Smite will do 6 points of damage. So I already rolled it.
Perfect, clean numbers. Let's finish the thought the road started. The scimitar bites in deep, deep. 8 more damage tears through what little fight he had left. The blade hits with intent this time, not just steel, but inevitability. Then the magic discharges. Wrathful Smite doesn't explode, it invades. Fear pours through the wound like ice water into the lungs. Not fear of death, fear of you, of standing here, of having chosen the wrong place, the wrong road, the wrong moment to test someone who does not flinch. I roll his wisdom save. He fails, badly. The psychic backlash hits for 6 more damage, and that's the end of whatever courage he was borrowing. His eyes go wide, his grip fails. The short sword clatters onto the stone and skids away from him like it wants nothing more to do with this. He stumbles backward, boots slipping, breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps. He is frightened of Simon. Mechanically, that means he cannot willingly move closer to you. He has disadvantage on attacks while he can see you. And at the end of each of his turns, the only thing he can think about is getting away from you. Fictionally, he breaks. He turns and runs. Not cleanly, not tactically, just away. Away from your blades, away from the road's judgment, away from the moment he realized he was standing in front of something that does not yield. That fracture ripples outward. The flanker sees it and swears. One crossbowman hesitates mid-reload. The other lowers his weapon just a fraction too long. Caravan guards press harder, sensing blood in the water. This ambush is collapsing. You have neutralized your primary threat, pulled enemy focus entirely onto yourself, triggered a morale failure in the open. The road loosens again. Not safe, but decided. We're still mid-fight, but the tone has shifted hard in your favor. Next up, enemies will either try to disengage and flee, make one last desperate push, or surrender to avoid becoming the next lesson. I'll resolve their reactions next, unless you want to call something out immediately.
Go ahead and let them act.
Good. Then the fight finishes telling you what it is. The man you broke runs, not cleverly, not fast. He bolts down the road's edge, boots slipping on stone, hands clawing for balance. No one chases him. No one needs to. He's done. That collapse pulls the rest apart. The flanker makes a choice, and it's the wrong one. He tries to force it anyway, rushing the caravan with a shout that's half anger, half fear. A guard meets him cleanly with a spear thrust that catches him high in the thigh. He goes down hard, screaming, fight gone out of him the instant the ground rises to meet him. On the embankment, one crossbowman looses a final shot in frustration. It sails wide. The other doesn't fire at all. He lowers the weapon, looks at the road, looks at you, and backs away into the scrub without turning his back. He knows when a crossing has failed. The second road attacker, already pressed by guards, sees the route take shape and throws his blade down. Flat, loud. He drops to a knee, hands open, breathing fast. Done, he pants. We're done. And just like that, it is. No wagon lost. No driver dead, no panic spread. The caravan keeps rolling, slower now, but intact. Guards secure the surrender, bind wounds, pull the injured clear of the road. The man who ran disappears over the ridge and is gone from this story. Mara comes up beside you again, eyes sharp, adrenaline still humming. Well, she says quietly, that answers that. The road feels settled, not pleased, satisfied, like a balance restored without needing to escalate. This was combat, but it was also confirmation. You stood, they yielded, the road kept moving. When you're ready, you can question the captive, tend to the wounded and move on, or take a moment to see whether the leather mark in your pouch does anything now that you've been tested openly. Episode 16 is still in motion.
Simon will take out the leather mark to see if there's any change.
Simon steps a few paces off the churn of the aftermath and reaches into his pouch. The leather strip comes free easily, like it was waiting to be handled again. At first, nothing happens. Then the road exhales. Not wind, not sound, orientation. That subtle internal compass you felt before, the sailor's sense, sharpens. The strip doesn't glow, it doesn't heat up, it simply tightens in your fingers, the knot firming as if pulled from both ends at once. And the world answers it. You become aware of lines, not visible ones, relational ones, threads of movement and intention stretching along the road ahead and behind. The caravan you guard sits on one such line, steady and resilient. The fleeing attacker leaves another, frayed and already thinning. Farther ahead, faint but unmistakable, is a disturbance in the pattern. Not here, not today, but on this road's future. Mara notices you've stopped. She watches your face more than the strip. You seeing something? As she speaks, the knot loosens again. The pressure fades. The leather returns to being just leather. But the knowledge does not leave with it. You don't know names. You don't know distances. But you know this. The warning was real. The road is already adjusting around what's coming. And by taking the mark out now, after standing your ground, you told it something in return. You're not just listening anymore. You're responding. Around you, the caravan finishes regrouping. Guards check gear. Someone laughs shakily, the way people do when they realize they're still alive. The surrendered attacker keeps his eyes on the ground and very deliberately does not look at you. The road stretches on, unchanged in shape, altered in attention. Episode 16 has delivered combat without waste and meaning without prophecy. Tell me what Simon does next. Does he share what he sensed, stow the mark quietly, or turn his attention to the captive before the road decides to press forward again?
Simon will tell Mara what happened with the leather mark. He will then make sure all the injured are tended to, then finally go to question the ambusher.
Simon doesn't make a production of it. He never does. He tells Mara quietly, away from the wagons, away from ears that don't need weight added to them. He shows her the leather strip, explains the pressure, the way the road briefly lined itself up in his head like a map that refused to be drawn. Mara listens without interrupting. That alone tells you she believes him. When he finishes, she nods once, slow, thoughtful. Then that thing you were warned about, she says. It's not rumor anymore. No, Simon agrees. It's traffic. She lets out a short, humorless breath. Figures. No panic. No dramatics. Just another hazard to plan around. Together, they move through the aftermath. Simon checks the injured first, not the enemy. A guard with a spear wound that missed the artery by luck and discipline. A bruised driver who took a jolt when a wagon lurched. The flanker screaming on the ground gets bound and stabilized, not gently, but competently. No one bleeds out. No one gets abandoned on the road. That matters. Only when the caravan is secure does Simon turn his attention to the ambusher, who surrendered. The man is seated on a stone at the roadside, wrists bound, shoulders slumped. He avoids eye contact until Simon steps into view, and then he freezes like a rabbit that's realized the hawk has landed. You, the man says quietly. Not an insult. Identification. Simon doesn't loom. He doesn't crouch. He just stands where the man can see him clearly and nowhere else. Talk, Simon says. Not loud. Not threatening, just certain. Who sent you and why this road? The man swallows. Hard. Wasn't supposed to go like that, he mutters. Was supposed to be a soft stop. Make the caravan hesitate. Take a wagon if they panicked. Leave if they didn't. He risks a glance up at Simon and immediately regrets it. They said the road was ripe, he continues quickly. That traffic's been predictable. That guards were tired. That no one worth worrying about was walking point. A pause. His jaw tightens. They were wrong. Simon stands there, the road behind him, the caravan intact, the leather mark quiet but present. The ambusher has more to say. You can feel it. Tell me how Simon presses him next. Ask who they are. Ask what they know about the coming disturbance. Or ask how many more groups like theirs are working this road. Whatever you choose, the answer will shape how episode 16 closes and what kind of trouble the road sends you toward next.
Simon says, who are this they you're talking about? And do you know of some other disturbance coming down the road?
The man's mouth opens, then closes again. He looks past Simon just briefly toward the road itself, like it might overhear. That's 2 questions, he says hoarsely, and both of them get people hurt. Simon doesn't react, he just waits. The road is very good at waiting. All right, the man exhales. You earned it. He shifts on the stone, wrists straining against the bindings more from nerves than intent to escape. They call themselves the Gauge, he says. Not a gang, not an army. More like auditors. He winces. They don't take roads, they measure them. Traffic, response times, who stands, who folds, who slows things down when pressure's applied. He swallows. They pay crews like ours to test stretches, soft stops, false crossings, delays that look like accidents. If a road proves unreliable, they flag it. If it proves resilient, he trails off. They adjust. Simon lets that land. As for the disturbance, the man continues, voice lower now. Yeah, we heard rumors, like not details, just that something's being moved along established routes, something big enough that it can't go off-road without drawing attention, so instead it uses what's already trusted. He shakes his head. Whatever it is, it doesn't break things fast. It makes them late, makes help miss its moment, makes people arrive just in time to watch things die. The road seems to stiffen at that, just a little. The Gauge wants that, the man adds quickly. Chaos without spectacle, collapse without blame. If roads stop being reliable, power shifts, people hoard, towns turn inward, someone always profits. He finally looks at Simon again, eyes bloodshot, earnest in the way fear sometimes makes people honest. You weren't supposed to be here, he says. Not you. Someone who walks instead of reacts. That's why they told us to leave you breathing if we could. A beat. I don't think they expected you to listen back. The caravan creaks as it prepares to move again. Drivers readying reins, guards tightening straps, motion reclaiming itself. Simon stands between a man who talked and a road that now knows new names. Episode 16 is drawing toward its close, not with certainty, but with direction. You can decide what to do with the prisoner, warn the caravan leaders in detail, or quietly commit this knowledge to memory and let the road reveal the next test on its own terms. However you proceed, one thing is now clear. Someone is trying to weaponize delay, and Simon is very bad news for anyone who thinks the road will cooperate.
I'll place the captured ambusher on one of the carts that has room. There's no need to kill him, just show him justice. Then I'll tell the caravan leaders that something big is coming and everyone needs to be on the lookout.
Simon makes the choice the road always notices. The ambusher is lifted onto a wagon that has space, wrists still bound, wound dressed well enough to keep him alive and uncomfortable. No spectacle, no threats, just inevitability. Justice that moves at the same speed as the caravan. The man doesn't resist. He won't look at Simon again, but there's something like relief in that. Whatever happens next to him will be decided by people and law, not fear in the dirt. That matters. Simon then speaks to the caravan leaders. Not loudly, not dramatically. He doesn't dress it up as prophecy. There's pressure coming down the road, he tells them. Not today, not necessarily here. Something big enough that it's being moved, not chased. The people we fought were testing responses, not trying to win a fight. He meets their eyes one by one. Stay alert, keep guards rotating. Don't assume delays are accidents. If something feels off, we slow together or we don't slow at all. No lone decisions. They listen, not because he's scary, because he's right. One of the older drivers nods slowly. Road justice, he mutters. Haven't seen that in a while. The caravan moves again. Wheels turn, hooves strike. The road accepts them. Simon takes his place where he belongs, walking alongside motion, not ahead of it and not behind. The leather mark rests quietly in his pouch, inert for now, like a compass that doesn't need to point unless asked. Behind them, the ambush site already feels like yesterday. Ahead, the road stretches on, carrying goods, people, consequences. Episode 16 closes not with a clash, but with commitment. Something is coming. Someone is measuring delay, and the road has decided who it trusts to answer. When you're ready, we can open episode 17 on the next stretch of road, or on the moment when the road decides to stop being patient.
No thanks. That will be the end of episode 16. I'll be back later to pick up the game later on.
Perfect place to stop. Clean, earned. End of episode 16. The road does not walk alone. The caravan moves on. Justice rides with it. The road remembers who stood, who yielded, and who chose restraint over blood. Simon walks forward, not as a hero, not as a symbol, but as something rarer, someone the road trusts to answer when it asks a question. No cliffhanger, no forced danger, just direction. When you come back, we'll pick up exactly where the road decides it matters next. Rest well, the road will be waiting.
And with that, we're going to call it an evening. Hopefully, you all liked it and made it this far along. If you did, please, please, please consider subscribing so you'll know when I run these and when we start heading back into Strahd again. But for now, that's going to be it. I thank everybody for watching. I'll see you here in the next day or two. Bye.